Wisdom is applied sciences, so you know what time it is. It's time for this topic about the most important factor to fat loss training. Training to maximize fat loss. Now I posted a poll in the Facebook Tribe by Noire coaching group. And the question was, what is the most important factor to training for fat loss? And I gave you guys 3 options. Number 1 was lifting heavy. Number 2 is maximizing muscle fatigue. And number 3 was keeping your heart rate up. Now, the most important answer, or the most popular, I should say, was lifting heavy. Okay, you guys voted the most for that. The second most popular answer was maximizing muscle fatigue. And of course, the third one, which actually wasn't really picked that much at all, was keeping your heart rate up. Now let's dispense with keeping your heart rate up and why that's not really the most important factor. Okay. Now, check this out. I can increase my heart rate right now by just breathing heavy. And just doing that, right? I do that for like 30 seconds. My heart rate will start racing, okay? And if I do it for long enough, I'll eventually get a little lightheaded, black out, pass out, okay? And when I wake up, I won't be any leaner, all right? And you see a lot of people in the gym, they're running on the treadmill or they're on a bike, they're on one of the recumbent bikes, going hard, right? Sweating, heart rate maximized, all that type of stuff, right? Breathing up a storm. And then they get off the treadmill, they get off the recumbent bike, and they come to me and they say, hey, I've been doing this, I've been killing myself in the gym, keeping my heart rate up, doing cardio, and I just can't seem to drop body fat, and I cleaned up my diet and all this type of stuff. Here's my calories, I'm in a calorie deficit, I'm vegan, I'm doing everything right, I don't understand. Okay? This is evidence, right, that keeping your heart rate up is not the end-all be-all. It's not the most important factor, okay? It's just a byproduct of how hard you're training. But if you're lifting heavy and maximizing muscle fatigue, that is going to naturally create a higher heart rate. That is naturally going to get you into a higher heart rate that will be conducive for fat loss. But here's the thing, if you're doing like aerobic training, where you're focused on just keeping your heart rate elevated and doing aerobic training, your body is mostly running on oxygen. Okay, so your energy supply, your primary energy supply is oxygen. But what we want to do in order to drop body fat is we actually want to run on carbohydrates. We want to run on glucose. And we want to run on metabolizing fat for energy. That's what we want to do. Okay? Now, the cool thing about the body is that as you drop body fat, as your body burns body fat, in order for that to happen, your body releases testosterone and adrenaline. Okay? So these hormones get set off, and that is what allows your body to metabolize fat for energy. Okay? So this is where weightlifting comes in. Because now, if you're lifting heavy and you're maximizing muscle fatigue, you're going to be in an oxygen deficit that will require your body to run on another form of energy called ATP. Let me get a little nerdy here, but bear with me. Now, ATP, if you want to get really nerdy, is adenosine triphosphate. Okay? This is an energy molecule that is created from your carbohydrates, the glucose that you consume, okay? So those carbohydrates that you ate yesterday, you're gonna be burning that in today's workout when you lift heavy. So ATP is that front end energy that allows you to lift heavy, it allows you to run fast, right? It allows you to perform very athletically, strong, power, speed, all that type of stuff. That's ATP. And now your body has a finite amount of this stuff. Only a few seconds worth, right? Maybe like 10 to 30 seconds of this stuff. And then, let's say you're doing a set where you're doing a given exercise. You're doing that you're using that ATP with each rep. And as that ATP runs out, you'll start to feel a burning sensation in the muscle. This is the response that leads you to realize that you have a lactic acid buildup in the muscle. Okay. Lactic acid, you know that burning sensation in the muscle? Yeah, that's lactic acid. Now, lactic acid is a byproduct of when your body burns glucose for energy. So, carbohydrates form ATP, or glucose forms that ATP. You use that ATP and burn that glucose. That turns into lactic acid. That lactic acid is then funneled through a looping process. Your body generates more ATP, and you go into your next set. That's pretty much how that works. So you know those carbohydrates that people want to cut out of their diet? Well, you can enjoy those carbohydrates in your diet and not focus so much on cutting those carbs. And then use that glucose, use those carbohydrates to power those heavy sets, that maximizing of muscle. Okay? So as you're in this oxygen deficit, you're using more glucose, you're using more body fat, because in order to use that glucose, your body also has to metabolize body fat, right? It has to metabolize fat in the body. So you're using, and before I move forward, fat also breaks down into glucose. So it's not just carbohydrates. Fat also gets broken down into glucose and used for energy in order to fuel muscle. All right? So here's what I'll say here. As you're lifting heavy and maximizing muscle fatigue, here's what's going to happen. When you're done with your workout, you're going about your day, your body's going to respond in a way where your body's going to say, that workout kicked my ass. And your body's going to respond by growing new muscle. It's going to repair the muscle that you used and burnt out and broke down in the workout, and it's going to rebuild it to be stronger and thicker. And now, more muscle means more lean mass. So basically, we are three different things mainly: lean mass, water, and fat mass. Excluding water, we just got lean mass and fat mass. Okay, lean mass we'll say is muscle, bone, things like that, but mostly let's just stick to muscle, and you have fat mass. Okay. Now, as a human being, your body is like a pie, right? There's a certain percentage of different materials, lean mass and fat mass and water and all that type of stuff. But as your lean mass increases, your fat mass percentage is going to decrease because there's a ratio here. So as you gain more muscle, you by default will look leaner. And speaking from personal experience, doing body recomposition, I can stay the same exact weight and look way bigger, but didn't gain any weight and didn't lose any weight. I just did a body recomposition. I dropped the fat mass and picked up the lean mass. Okay? That's pretty much how that works. So, putting aside losing actual weight in body fat, just gaining muscle alone will make you leaner. That's number one. Number two, the more muscle you have on you makes you more adept and makes your body more efficient at using fat for energy. Because your body uses a lot of energy just having muscle mass on it. Just feeding that muscle mass increases the amount of calories that you need to consume each day in general. And it increases the amount of energy that you use in general each day, right? So just having muscle mass on you in general is conducive to dropping body fat. So we got that squared away. But now, back to the training, because we were training for fat. We were training for fat loss. You want to be losing fat loss all day, every day in your training, right? So this means you have to maximize muscle fatigue to build new muscle and fuel that process of metabolizing fat and releasing testosterone and adrenaline and all of that, and getting that whole hormonal process going, as well as getting in the gym and using that glucose as your primary source of energy. Okay, and that's pretty much how it works. So the correct answer, the best answer, the most important factor to training for fat loss is muscle fatigue. Last but not least, to put this into practice, I want you to bear in mind that as far as a rep range goes, I would advise working in between the rep ranges of 8 and 20 for all your exercises. Smaller exercises where you're training smaller muscle groups, that's going to be along the rep range of 16 and 20 reps, or 12 and 20. And then for the bigger, more complex stuff like deadlift, squats, bench press, overhead press, that's going to be more in the range of, let's say, 8 to 12 reps. Now here's the deal, and this is really simple what you can do. Start with a weight you know you can at least get 20 reps, or get 20 reps at the most with. So let's say you do 3 or 4 sets. So what that would look like is you do a specific exercise, 20 reps, okay? And about halfway through the set, you'll start to feel that burning, that lactic acid buildup. Second set, you're going to increase the weight by 5, 10, maybe even 15 pounds. And from there, you may just get 18, maybe 16 reps or something like that, maybe even 14. And in the third set, you go from getting, let's say, 14 or 12 to maybe even 10. So that weight, as that weight goes up, the reps come down, but the intensity hovers around a certain point, right? You're still doing as much as possible. You're emptying your buckets on each set when you're doing this. Because if you've already started at 20 reps and you're picking the weight up each set, that's how you keep your intensity up. You just shift from having an intensity at higher reps and lower rate to lower reps at a higher weight. So it creates this undulating curve in your intensity in your training. But this is how you keep that intensity going. And when you keep the intensity going, this is going to keep your heart rate up. You're going to be lifting heavy, and all of that is going to go towards the goal of maximizing muscle fatigue. And that's pretty much what you need in order to move forward. And that's all I'll say about that. Now, a lot of this I factor into my training program. One of the most important things that I will tell people to do in order to drop body fat is intermittent fasting, a plant-based diet, and actually undulating that intensity between how much weight you're using and how many reps you're doing. And you can do that from set to set and day to day, and basically just wave everything out and have this nice seamless transition of energy systems, right? So that you can cover muscle endurance, muscular strength, muscular power, and all of that type of stuff, becoming a more athletic, leaner, just overall better human machine. So having said that, if you're more interested in doing one of my training programs, signing up for my coaching, or you just have some questions, feel free to reach out and we can get on a call, or I'll respond in the comments, whatever the case may be. I'll see you guys in the next video.